Good morning, everyone. This is Juan Pineda. I am the chair of this annual seminar in policy sciences and STEM education. It is a great honor to stand before you today. I'm going to talk about innovation, inclusion, and intelligence. The title is Navigating Higher Education in the 21st Century. As you know, it is a distance education program. We are in Facebook and also we are in YouTube. We have participants from Canada, the USA, and Mexico. All of them, we can say that we have representation from each country in North America. This seminar has been designed with 6 main events. Now we are in the welcome session or welcome ceremony. And then we are going to have the keynote address. And after that, we are going to have 4 main panels, all of them thinking about innovation, inclusion, and intelligence in higher education. So I would like to say that the main values of this seminar is excellence in education. Second, gratitude. Third, happiness. And an additional value is honesty. I say that because the values needs to be very clear in this cátedra or chair Juan de Dios Pineda, because we have outstanding and very busy panelists that they take their time to attend this seminar. They are here because they love to teach, because they love to share knowledge. Gilman is in Winnipeg, where she is the keynote speaker in a huge conference in Canada. My friend Ivan Carrillo is in Vienna, also is a distinguished speaker in a conference in Vienna, and so on. We have in this welcome ceremony huge participants, all of them with outstanding research and also with outstanding conversation with students in higher education. My gratitude to all of them. My gratitude because they are my colleagues, because they are professional, because they are nice people, that they are just great to be here in this conversation. Now, I'm going to pass the microphone to Dr. Rosalía Nayeli Pérez. As you know, is the president of the University de la Universidad Politécnica de Tlaxcala. Thank you for your solid support of this initiative. Your vision, Rosalia, has been instrumental in bringing this moment to life. To our distinguished guests, also fellow academics, students, and all the participants joining us today, I extend my most sincere gratitude. Your presence is what makes
quienes estarán acompañándonos durante toda la cátedra. También es muy importante mencionar que para todos nosotros es un honor tenerlos y tenerlo a usted, doctor Juan de Dios, y a nuestros invitados especiales les deseo que el intercambio de conocimientos y experiencias los lleven a hacer más propuestas y a los docentes y estudiantes que estarán siguiéndonos en el transcurso del día, los lleven a reflexionar sobre su intervención educativa y sobre la importancia de su cuestión laboral y de los aprendizajes. Les recuerdo que el aprendizaje debe de ser siempre una constante que nos impulse a ser mejores profesionistas, pero todo me parece que el aprendizaje nos debe de siempre de ayudar nos debe de impulsar a ser mejores ciudadanos para que podamos todos convivir en un ambiente de paz y en un ambiente de respeto. Good morning. Today we'll be in the chair Juan de Dios Pineda Guadarrama, and we will receive important and experimented people in education and in public policies. And on behalf of the Polytechnic University of Tlaxcala, I welcome you all. I hope that all these topics presented today can be of great learning and reflection to all who will be accompanying us in this chair. For us, as Polytechnic University of Tlaxcala, it's an honor to have you all here, and especially to have Dr. Juan de Dios Pineda, who is the person entitled to be leading this work today and the future seminars in this university. To our special guests of today, I wish you that this exchange of knowledge and experience take you to reflection and to new proposals in your work, in your everyday life. And I wish you that knowledge and exchange of experiences lead you to generate more proposals, and that this work can help you to reflect upon the importance of all your educative involvement and your everyday life and in your work. I remind you all that learning must be constant, so it may help us to be better professionists, but overall to be better citizens, so that we can live in a peaceful and respectful environment too. Welcome again, and now, Dr. Juan de Dios Pineda, you have the word. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rosalia. I want to say that Dr. Rosalia has more than 25 years in providing excellence in higher education. Also, she's a leader in designing international seminars. She has several books. I had the privilege to have one with her. And also, Dr. Rosalia is very well loved in her institution. Why? Because she has high standards in education. So thank you, Dr. Rosalia, for being part of the initiative and for promoting this event. Now, I would like to pass the floor to my dearest friend, Dr. Bruce Perman. Dr. Bruce Perman is a Regents Professor and former Director of Public Administration at the University of New Mexico, where also he was a senior Fulbright lecturer. Also, he was the Presidential University Lecturer and held the Hatch Chair in Law and Public Policy. Dr. Perman is the former director of the State and Local Government Review and also is the former editor-in-chief of the Journal of Public Affairs and Education. As well, we have collaborated in several books. We have 2 books and also several articles that I believe that Bruce not just is my close friend. I think that also Bruce, and I'm going to say that in a very public way, he's a kind of guru for me. Thank you, Bruce, for being here. Go ahead, please. You have 5-6 minutes.
Thank you, Juan. I hope everyone can hear me well. First, muy buenos días a la rectora y muchas gracias por esta digna invitación. Y also, good morning to all the panelists. You'll notice I speak English as if it were my my first language. I want to talk first in welcoming everyone. A couple of things. Then I'm going to talk possibilities I see. I want to say that it's an unparalleled honor for me to be here in this welcoming ceremony and inauguration of the Juan de Dios Pineda Chair in Policy Sciences and STEM Education at the Polytechnic University of
I'm checking
Tlaxcala.
in.
First reason, and most personally, I've counted Juan as my dearest friend and esteemed colleague for nearly 30 years. In that time, we traveled the world together, instructed dozens of cohorts of government and higher education officials together, worked on university and state and local government projects together, collaborated on academic research, presentations, papers, chapters, articles, and books together, and supported each other in the development of our professional careers and personal lives. Since one of the values of this seminar is, I should say, well, we also have drunk together during that. Second, from a professional perspective, I cannot think of anyone more deserving of this honor of having a chair in his name than Juan. This is due not only to his accomplishments in academia, but also because there is no one else whose academic trajectory aligns better with a chair in this subject matter. Dr. Pineda has worked, lectured, and written extensively on public policy, the policy sciences, and STEM and related topics. He's been a researcher, teacher, and key leader in the internationalization of the curriculum of one of the US's most prestigious technical and engineering universities, New Mexico Tech. He's done the same at numerous universities in Mexico and received honorary doctorates for his work in these efforts in Mexico and in China. During this time, Juan has mentored professionals and students in the STEM and policy sciences fields in the US and Mexico, taught classes in English and Spanish, and simultaneously produced numerous publications. When I think about all Juan has accomplished, I sometimes wonder how he has time to sleep. But I know that when he does, he dreams of the policy sciences and STEM. But third, from a disciplinary point of view, the establishment of this chair extends beyond the Polytechnic University of Tlaxcala in Mexico. It's a significant academic event with the potential to impact multiple dimensions of higher education. Let me give you some examples. A chair in this subject can help to bridge knowledge gaps. It can be a vehicle to connect the two fields of policy science and STEM education, which have operated in relative isolation. STEM education policy decisions are often made without sufficient grounding in educational policy research, and STEM educators may lack policy analysis tools. The chair can advance evidence-based policy as a standard. A dedicated chair in these subject matters can systematically develop methodologies for translating STEM education research into policy frameworks. This includes creating robust evaluation metrics for STEM programs and looking at predictive models for those policy outcomes. It can address also workforce and innovation challenges. The intersection of STEM education and policy is crucial for national competitiveness, whether we're talking about the US, Canada, or Mexico, and for innovation capacity. This chair can focus on critical issues like STEM teacher preparation and retention and equitable access to STEM education. In addition, this chair can help train future scholar practitioners, and it can pioneer an institutional and field and policies. It can help establish influencing development standards across any points of policy sciences doing equity in an increasingly society.
sorry. I think that you have some kind of problems with your audio. Is it me, Rosalia, or is Dr. Perman audio?
No, I think it's his audio.
Can you hear me?
Perfect, perfect. Now it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't want to back up. I don't want to go back. So I was closing, so I'll go ahead and close. So the importance of this chair in policy sciences and STEM education extends beyond the academic points that I listed and which I hope was heard by some. The chair is going to have practical implications for educational equity, economic development, and democratic participation in an increasingly technology-driven society. Accordingly, it's appropriate and fitting that we inaugurate it and welcome everyone to this today at the Polytechnic University of Tlaxcala, and even more so that it carries the name of someone who has devoted his life to the unification of theory and practice in these fields, Dr. Juan de Dios Guadarrama. Thank you very much. I hope you heard some of my observations.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. I really appreciate your comment. You were very kind. I think that that's a lot to me, the thing that you say. In some parts, I think that are undeserved, but thank you so much for being such a nice friend. Thank you, Dr. Perman. I appreciate it. Now is going to say is the tour for my dear friend Ivan Carrillo. But before that, I would like to ask Axel to open. Some people in Zoom are asking for going inside to this meeting. So Axel, please open that space for them. I would like to express also that the chair Juan de Dios Pineda in Public Policy and STEM Education is more than just a title. It is a commitment to connecting two of the most critical fields of our time. In an era where technological innovation is accelerating in a very unprecedented rate, our public policies must be not only informed by science, but also actively work to ensure that the benefits of STEM education are accessible to every member of our society. This chair is designed to be a center for dialogue, research, collective action, and pushing us all to create a more rightful, systematically scholarly future. Academic seminars like this one are the true essence of higher education. They are the spaces where we connect different sciences, challenge existing ideas and paradigms, and transforming thought into action. They serve this kind of seminar as a powerful reminder that our work extends beyond the classroom and into the communities we serve. I hope that today's discussion inspired new collaboration and help us all provide a happier, more informed world. So now I would like to pass the floor to Ivan Carrillo, but I would like to say that he's a very outstanding journalist. And also he's graduated from the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México and also from the Universidad de Guadalajara. He's nice science fellow from the Massachusetts Institute of Technologies, MIT, and he's explored at the National Geographic Society. My friend Ivan Carrillo, he's very well known around the world. His stories, his seminars, his documentals are ready to see and ready to appreciate. Thank you so much, Ivan, for being part of this event. Go ahead, my friend.
Thank you very much, Juan de Dios. Thank you for your words and your kindness. And good morning, everyone. Greetings to the rectora de la Universidad Politécnica de Tlaxcala, Rosalía Nayeli Pérez. gusto saludarla. To the doctors on the table, to the colleagues, students, and to the family and friends of Juan de Dios Pineda. It's a great honor to be here today with you. Well, what I have to say is that I am a science journalist, and I am the product of higher education. But I have to say that this fact doesn't matter beyond myself. It hasn't changed the world around me. What matters here is that as a journalist, I have talked with hundreds and maybe thousands of scientists in my career. I have learned from their work, their knowledge, their way of thinking. They are the result of higher education. They are a proof of the best survival strategy of our species. Long ago, humans learned something important. Our advantage was not the speed and was not the strength. Our advantage, it was understanding. It was planning. It was sharing. It was learning. Over thousands of years, we refined this capacity. We call it now science. We call it now technology. We call it now education. Science, technology, and education are like climbing on the shoulders of giants. Each generation sees further, and each generation searches for solutions to new problems. This is why today is so special. This new chair honors Juan de Dios Pineda, and he has dedicated his life to education, to building better opportunities for students, to promote knowledge and understanding. Education at this level is crucial. We know that. It shapes the future of young people and the future of our country and the future of our species. Today, we live in times of artificial intelligence and digital change. But we must protect our human essence, knowledge, creativity, education. That is our compass. It brought us here, and it will take us further. Congratulations, dear Juan de Dios Pineda, on this chair and greetings from Vienna. It's so honored to be here with you and your colleagues.
Thank you, my dear friend Ivan Carrillo. Thank you so much for your knowledge. Thank you so much for your comments. Like Bruce, you are part of my inspiration to be a higher education educator, and I appreciate both of you, your kind words to my person. Thank you so much. Now it's time to speak for my friend, Dr. Gillian Mandich. And I want to say that she has a PhD from Western University in Health Sciences, specializing in health promotion. Her primary areas of research are happiness and health. She's a very well-known international leader in happiness, and her work combines the latest research, practical wisdom, and engaging style to help people live happier, healthier lives. Dr. Mandich is passionate about research. She's the founder of the International Happiness Institute of Health Science Research. She appears regularly in the media on shows as The Social, The Marilyn Dennis, Breakfast Television, The Morning Show, and CBC. She is a graduate student innovation scholar program at the Richard School of Business and World Discoveries. She is the co-lead investigator of the Canadian Happiness at Work study. Dr. Mandich is a top-rated speaker, both in person and online, and she is represented by pro speakers. She was recently named the CanFit Pro 2020 Canadian Presenter of the Year, and he has been 2 TEDx talks, The Surprising Truth About Happiness and The 2 Things You Need to Know to be happier today. Dr. Gilman, it's a pleasure having you here. And let me use this forum to inform that Dr. Gillian and I are working on a very nice seminar to participate to Mexican scholars, business people, and also in South America and Central America. This seminar is going to be about why people is happy and also is more productive. So now, Dr. Lilian, you have the microphone. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, and good morning. It is such a pleasure and a privilege to be here with all of you today. Thank you for having me. I'm going to just start by sharing my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Thumbs up. Awesome. Okay. Good morning. I am coming to you today from Winnipeg, which is in Manitoba, Canada. I am from Toronto, but I'm up here doing some speaking this week, and I'm so delighted to be here with all of you. So I'm a happiness researcher. I spend my days learning and studying how do we be happy. I do a lot of TV and media. I'm an assistant professor in psychiatry here at the University of Manitoba, which is in Winnipeg. And what we're going to talk about today is I want to share with you sort of my experiences navigating my journey through higher education and some of the key things that I learned. And then I want to close by just sharing some of the research and things that I learned in my journey, and thanks to higher education in terms of the science of happiness. So my promise to you is that no matter how happy or unhappy you're feeling right now, by the end of the talk, you will have some information from the science of happiness to help you feel happier. I also left about 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So if you have any questions, we can definitely cover those then. So let's get into it, because higher education, why does it matter? I think it's so important to begin with, why are we talking about what we're talking about? And the reality is that the world is very unpredictable. We've seen that, and especially with AI and technology changing so quickly right now, things are evolving in context. Things are all changing, but higher education is this wonderful opportunity where you can learn how to learn, so that no matter what happens, you have these skills to learn and adapt and innovate in any field that you choose. So the reality is that you may not know where your path may lead, but when you are and you learn in higher education, you learn the skills to be able to navigate and to learn different things and to thrive. And so that's something that I think, especially if you're at the beginning of your journey in higher education, you never know where the path may lead. And my story is sort of a very good example of that. When I first started my undergraduate degree in Canada, I wanted to be a doctor. So my goal was to do an undergraduate degree and then to go to medical school. And so I finished my degree and I applied to medical school, but I decided that I wanted to take a year and get some life experience before I went and did medical school. And so I got a job as a research assistant at the Middlesex London Health Unit, which was the health unit in London, Ontario, where I was born. And the researcher that I was a research assistant for, her name is Dr. Maisie He. She's at UT San Antonio now, and she was working with the Latino community in London, Ontario, in my city, and specifically looking at childhood obesity and how to raise healthy and happy Latino children. And so I would go and we would spend time with the kids. We would collect data, height, weight. We taught skills about nutrition. They had counseling. Were different topics, and it was so fun that I loved working with children, with the Latino population, and I just loved everything about it. And so I decided, instead of going back to medical school, I was going to go and do a master's degree so that I could continue to work with the population and learn research skills. So I went back to school, and these are some pictures. We used to go to different events to recruit children for our studies, for our obesity studies. And that's what we did. And it was so fun. And I think one of the key things, even from that age, I had a plan of what I wanted to do in higher education, but plans change. And when you start to follow the things that you love and that you enjoy or that you're passionate about, it can take you in ways that you never thought. This is a picture. We used to go to festivals and stuff, and I brought my dog with me to recruit. And it was a really, really fun time for me. But I was sort of after I finished my master's degree, I kept going and I did a PhD in health science. And in the second year of my PhD, you have to do what are called comprehensive exams. So you're given a topic and you read all of the research, and then you have an oral exam and you write a paper. And so as I was doing that, there was something that was sort of sitting really heavy on my heart. And that was that when you study childhood obesity, how a child is determined if they can be in your research or not is you calculate their BMI, their body mass index. So you take the height and the weight and you get a number, and it has to be above the 85th percentile for their age and gender in order to qualify for research. And I didn't love that because essentially I was using the number on a scale to determine if I could help a child. And so I really was having this big existential crisis. And I was talking to a professor, because that's one of the other things that's great about higher education is you have peers and colleagues and people that are wise and experienced. And so when you're sort of feeling lost, you have opportunities to talk to people. So I was talking one day to a professor at the business school and was sort of explaining my challenges. And she told me, Jillian, you might be interested in my sister's research. She was on the East Coast here in Canada, and she studies sustainable happiness. And I said, what's that? Because up until then, so up until the second year of my PhD, I didn't even know that studying happiness was possible. And so I went home and I looked up, what is sustainable happiness, which is more sort of happiness from the perspective of the environment. So looking at things like global warming and climate change and how that affects happiness. But I was sitting at my computer, and being in health science, I thought, I wonder if there's a connection between happiness and health. So I went on to PubMed to look at some research, and I started reading research like this. And what we see is that happy people are physically healthier. So they have better self-reported health. They have longer lifespan, which is the number of years that you live, as well as health span, which is the number of healthy years that you live. When we look at things like cardiovascular health, stress, immune function, endocrine function, happier people are healthier. And they also engage in a lot of behaviors that are more likely to promote health, whether it's physical activity, reducing sedentary behavior, sleeping better, both in terms of time and duration, fruit and vegetable intake, sunscreen wearing, seatbelt usage. And so, especially in a childhood obesity intervention, the goal is actually not weight loss for children. It's to slow the trajectory of weight gain and to establish healthy habits. Because when children establish healthy habits, they're more likely to continue them into adulthood. And so I was thinking about that. And when I'm reading all of this research here, again, the goal is health, but it had nothing to do with the number on a scale. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to totally switch paths. And I was really scared to do it. And there was also no one studying happiness at my university at the time. So there was a lot of challenges that I had to work through in order to figure out how I could study happiness at my university. And we ended up bringing in experts from other universities to help on my committee so that we could learn. And I was able to study happiness, which made me happy. Now, what really this was such a big piece of higher education is the people and the peers and the colleagues, because if it wasn't for conversations that I had with others, with professors, with other grad students, with other students, I don't think I would have even known about happiness or be on the path that I am. And I think that that's one of the beauty of higher education is you don't have to do it alone. It gives you a community. It gives you people that are like-minded, that have similar interests. You have access to mentors, role models. Juan is a perfect example where you can look at what they've done and talk to them. And you also have opportunities to learn from your peers that are walking different paths, right? Because especially at the university, there's so many different departments and things that are learning, and even conversations between them, because oftentimes that's where innovation comes. And you really have that network, because especially as you navigate through higher education, there can be a lot of uncertainty, or you can, be sort of challenged in different ways. And so you have that support and you have that community. And so what I look at and I was in university for 12 years, because when I switched topics for my PhD, I basically had to restart. So it took me 6 years to do that. But it didn't just give me a map. It gave me a compass, a way to be able to figure out, what do I want to learn? Where are my curiosities, and how can I navigate those and use the opportunity in higher education to do research that was meaningful and important to me? And it really helps with the complexity, right? It's not just memorizing facts. And when we start to follow those questions, you end up in unexpected places. Like the fact that I'm a happiness researcher, and all of the time people say to me, is that a real thing? Because like I said, up until the second year of my PhD, I didn't even know that it was. But the skills that I got were invaluable because of higher education. And it helps with critical thinking skills, with problem solving skills. And like I said, this capacity to adapt in uncertain contexts. It trains you to ask better questions, not to find answers. And I think that's really key, because that curiosity is what really leads innovation, and it leads us to discover new things, to create new things, to collaborate in different ways. You really do develop resilience through challenge and rigor. And like I said, it was a really challenging thing for me to try to figure out how to study happiness at a university with nobody studying happiness. But we were able to figure it out and to connect across different disciplines. I think today it's a great example of so many different disciplines and countries coming together to sort of share in this topic and learning. And so with that, like I promised, I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned through my research, through my time in higher education, and now continuing my research, looking at the science of happiness. And I have to say that when I tell people that I am a happiness researcher, the number one question that I get asked is, okay, Jillian, like, what's the magic pill, or what's the one thing that I need to do or to buy or to get or to say in order to be happy? And the truth is, there is no secret, but there is a science to it. So just like we can apply scientific principles to learn about cardiovascular disease, or to learn about obesity or diabetes or anything, we can actually learn about happiness. What's interesting about happiness, though, is there are changes and variations in happiness all across the world and across different cultures, across our lifespan. If you think about what made you happy when you were 5 years old or 10 years old now versus when you're 100 years old, it all is changing. But what we do see in research is that across all continents and across all cultures, the desire for happiness is universal. We all want to be happy. And so when I first got into happiness research, I wanted to learn, like, can we actually do something about it? Because sometimes I get asked, like, is it just something you're born with, right? Some of us might know people that are kind of like Eeyore type people, where they're sort of grumpy. And it's like, is happiness just a question of what we're born with, or is it there's something we can do? So what we do know from research is that there are three main components to our happiness. So the first one is our genetics. So they do play a role. So you can thank your parents or not, but that's the reality. The second piece of it is our environment, and that's an important part of our happiness. And then the third part is our thoughts, our actions, our habits, and our behaviors. And so all of my research focuses on that third part, our thoughts and our actions, our thoughts and our behaviors, because when we look at where can we make a lot of meaningful change, we live inside our head every day and we control a lot of what we do. And so it's something that we have this huge opportunity to actually make meaningful change. So it doesn't matter how you were born, we all have the opportunity to increase our happiness. Now, the other thing, so when I first got into happiness research, I was reflecting on myself and thinking, okay, Jillian, are you as happy as you possibly could be? And my answer was no. And so I thought, I don't like feeling stressed. I don't like feeling anxious. So my goal when I first started studying happiness was to figure out how to get rid of all of those challenging feelings and just be happy all of the time. But when you actually get into the research, what you learn is that the goal in life is not to be happy all the time. In fact, it's impossible to be happy all the time. So can we be happy all the time? No. Can we be happier than we are right now? Absolutely. Now, when I talk about happiness, sort of one of the important caveats is that happiness isn't forcing ourselves to be happy when we're not, right? I'm sure we've all had days when we're not feeling great and we try to like put on a smile and pretend to be happy. We call this toxic positivity in research, right? Probably none of us on this call have ever had our frown turned upside down when someone told us to turn our frown upside down. And so happiness is not about forcing ourselves to be happy. It's allowing ourselves to be humans and to experience the full range of emotions. People think because I study happiness that I'm happy all the time, and I absolutely am not. But I definitely am happier when I've applied some of the research, and I'm going to share some of that in a minute. But first, I have a question, and we'll just answer this in our heads because we're all over the world and virtual. But if you want to just take a moment and take a breath and check in with yourself and think, okay, how happy are you right now? from 1 to 10. And since we're in higher education, you can use decimal places if you want. I see Juan's got 2 hands up. Okay, so that wasn't a really hard question, right? And so I also have, before we get into the actual how to be happy, a thought experiment. This, by the way, this is my French bulldog, Jocko, and he's a professional model here in Canada. So I have some cute photos of him from his modeling. So there's one of them. And so in this thought experiment, say you won $10,000 in the lottery today, okay? And I said, congratulations, you've won $10,000. And I want you to spend it in a way to maximize your happiness. And you only have 4 choices for this thought experiment of how to spend it. So A, you can go on a shopping spree or do a renovation in your house. B, you can plan a trip with your friends or your family and go wherever you'd like to go in the world. C, you budget about $200 a week, a year for self-care, whatever that looks like for you. So if you like to go to the movies or you like to buy flowers, go to concerts, get massages, whatever you like to do to make you feel good, you get about $200 a week for a year. Or D, you donate all of your money to your favorite charity. So because we're all virtual, I'll get you to sort of pick which one you think. And then I'm going to tell you the answer. And if we were all together in person, I like to do like live polling. And when we do that, what I see is that there's a mixed across the board. Some people like to go shopping. A lot of people often pick trips. Same with self-care. So the answer to this question is C, $200 a week, a year for self-care. Juan's got C. And the reason I asked that question on a scale of 1 to 10, as well as this thought experiment, is because what we know from research is that as humans, we're pretty good at self-reporting our own happiness. So when I asked you that question on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? Chances are, if you were a participant in one of my research studies, whatever number you just came up with in your head would be pretty close, if not the same, as what we would get. And we often measure happiness with self-report questionnaires in research. But what's also interesting that we know from research is that we're not as good at figuring out what it is that make us happy. So sometimes we think it's the day that we go on a shopping spree or do a renovation or the big trip that we go on, or if we had that day where we donated all of our money to charity. But the reason that C, $200 a week, a year is for happiness is the answer is because we think we're these like logical, rational creatures, and we're pretty good at predicting what's going to make us happy, but we actually aren't. So much so that we have a term for this. It was coined by a researcher named Dr. Dan Gilbert at Harvard. And what his research showed is that as humans, we often overestimate how much happiness we're going to experience and for how long it's going to last. So he calls this term affective forecasting. So forecasting our affect, how we're going to feel, predicting how we're going to feel. And we're actually not that good at it. So we often think it's the big moments in life that bring us the most amount of happiness. But the reason that C is the answer is because if we think about how do we live a happy life, it really comes down to what a researcher named Dr. Barbara Fredrickson calls micro moments. And so micro moments are the little things. And that's why C is the answer, because then you say you get a massage or you go for dinner. Those are small little things that don't take up a lot of real estate in our head. But when you start to add up those micro moments over time, it actually adds up to a lot more happiness than the big moments like the trip or the shopping or whatever. I think about it like this. In my very highly scientific graph that you see on the screen, these sort of micro moments are almost like a rep in the gym. So say you go to work out and you do one bicep curl, right? It's not changing your life. But if you consistently go over time, you start to get stronger, right? And so happiness kind of works the same way. We sort of think about it like a muscle. And so these micro moments are like little reps. And when you do them, as you can see, your happiness goes up. Now, the other thing that's important to note on this graph, and you might be noticing and thinking, Jillian, there's still red faces here. And there is, because the other thing is a happy life doesn't mean that hard or difficult things don't happen. But what happens is when we focus on growing our happiness muscle, over time, our highs get higher and our lows get higher because we become more resilient. My dog's back to share, because you might be thinking, okay, Jillian, like what micro moments can I do? And I want to invite you to just take a look at this list, and what makes all of us happy is different. So we sort of have to figure it out for ourselves. But whether it's practicing gratitude or taking time to check in with a friend, spending time with pets and animals, getting outside into nature, sharing a moment of levity, watching a funny video. All of these micro moments, while they seem small, like I said, over time, that's what really starts to grow our happiness muscle. And so I want to ask you, and I want to invite you to reflect and think, okay, what's one micro moment of happiness that you can create for yourself today? Because, oftentimes, especially when we're busy, we tend to just forget about those little things, but they really do matter. And if we really want to make meaningful change in our happiness, it's really about these micro moments. And so with that, I'm just going to leave with one closing thought. This is a photo of the university, Western University, that I went to in Canada. And the closing thought I want to leave you with is from a book called Big Panda, Tiny Dragon. It's a children's book. And I love this. It's a little cartoon. And it's got a dragon sitting on the panda's back. And it says, "Which is more important?" asked Big Panda, "the journey or the destination?" And it said, "The company," said Tiny Dragon. And I love that because I think that especially in today's day and age when we're so much on our phones and, disconnected, making sure we have that connection. And especially in higher education, it's such a wonderful opportunity to connect with each other, to learn from each other, to share with each other, even the fact that we're all here today for such an exciting and wonderful day, but really reminding ourselves. And what we see from research is that the number one predictor of both our long-term health and our happiness is social connection. And so, especially when we're busy, sometimes the connecting with friends can be the last thing to drop off our list, but really reminding ourselves of that. Now, here's one more photo of Jocko. He's got a little smiley shirt on, but I really wanted to thank you all for having me. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here and to be giving this keynote in your name's honor, Juan. And I wanted to, like I said, to leave time for questions. So I would be happy to answer any questions that any of you have, whether it's about something we talked about or anything else about higher education or happiness.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gillian. I really, really enjoyed your keynote addresses. It was beautiful. It was a lot of knowledge, a lot of research over there. I think that you are very generous sharing all this information, all this keynote address. Thanks again for being here. I know that you are a very busy person, but you are dedicating your time, your micro moment to be people happy. I appreciate it. Now, if you don't mind, Dr. Rosalia, we are going to open the microphone to receive questions. I don't know if you have some kind of organization there, Dr. Rosalia.
Yes, we have here some students of the university who would like to make some questions to you, Dr.
Yeah.
Gillian. But before we give them the voice so they can speak, I'm very happy that today you are part of the company of my journey. Thank you, really.
Thank
I like
you.
that example
Same
a
to
lot.
you.
And thank you to all of you, Juan de Dios, also for being part of the company in my journey. I don't know, Samantha Canales, do you have any question for Dr. Gillian? Welcome. You can open your microphone.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the invitation. I have a question. For you, what daily practices have been scientifically proven to increase happiness?
Oh, thank you for that question. That's a great one. And what's really interesting is when you study happiness, you read a lot of research. And so I like to try a lot of the different things with myself to kind of do my own experiment too. And so for me, some of the things that have been really, I've noticed, I wish I would have measured happiness when I first started researching happiness, because I feel like I'm happier now, but I don't have the data to support that. But I definitely feel that. And so for me, I have my French Bulldog, Jocko, that you saw in the slides. And so one of the greatest things for me is, I get up in the morning and I take him out to the park and we go for a walk. And one of the things I think that I do when I do that is I try not to bring my phone, because a lot of times, like, we rush through the day and then we blink and the day is over. So one of the big things that I've been trying to do is be present in my moments like that. So I try to take that time to just really enjoy my dog, to look around, to notice people at the park. And I think especially when I was in school, like, I look back at that time, like I said, I was at my university for 12 years in school. And it felt like it went by really slow sometimes when I was there, but now looking back, like, it went really fast. And I remember my last semester, I was aware that I was going to be finishing soon. And so I really tried when I was walking through campus to notice the beautiful buildings and to really take it in, because being in school is such a beautiful chapter of life, and to really make sure that you're present and mindful. And sometimes we have this term in research called savoring, which is the fancy word for like stopping to smell the roses. But that's something I did at the end of my university studying, and also still do now. The other one that's really big for me is physical activity. So when we look at sort of some of the big factors, physical activity, nutrition, and sleep all play a really big role in our happiness. I think we've all been like hangry before, right? We understand how when we're hungry, sometimes it can affect our mood. But exercise can actually really help to boost our mood. So if we're feeling low, sometimes getting out and going for a walk or moving our bodies, even having a dance party, whatever it is, but moving our body can start to shift our mood too. So those are some of the things that I do. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Areli, do you have any question for Dr. Jillian?
Yes, good morning. First of all, thank you for all the knowledge you shared with us. I really admire your work. And my question is, in your opinion, what would it be the biggest challenge for humans to be happy?
That's a great question. There's a lot of them. I think right now, one of the big ones that we're seeing is sort of our relationship with media and social media. And so when I was at the university that I was at, I also taught in the Faculty of Health Science for 4 years. And one of the courses that I taught was called Health and Social Media. And on the first day, one of my first slides, I put up a picture of Spider-Man with a quote that says, "With great power comes great responsibility." And I think that technology, because it wasn't like we were born with an instruction manual about how to use it, right? And so really navigating that, not going on first thing in the morning, is something really simple that we can all do that's really powerful. Because what we see, and this is research from a gentleman named Sean Aker, who wrote a book called The How of Happiness, and his wife, actually, Michelle Guillen. And they found that if we watch news or social media 3 minutes in the morning that we perceive to be negative, we have a 27% greater likelihood of reporting our day as unhappy 6 to 8 hours later. So when we think about, there's a lot of things going on in our world that we can't control. This is something that we can control, and it really has a powerful, and it's hard, I get it. Like I used to, kind of use my phone as an alarm clock. So then it's just so tempting to like check your phone. So I actually got like an old clock in my room so that I'm not on my phone. But that's something, or being intentional about our social media, because especially with the algorithms these days, you can just start scrolling and it's a never-ending tunnel to who knows where. So making sure that if you are going on, one of the things I recommend is checking in with how you feel when you go on social media or watch the news, and then check in after. And if often we're not feeling good after, then that's a good area of opportunity to maybe check who we're following and change those things, or to not. And it's hard because I live downtown Toronto, and I live in a condo with a lot of high rise. And so often we have to wait for the elevator. And sometimes I would notice that while I'm waiting for the elevator, without even paying attention, I would take my phone out and I would just start scrolling. And I didn't even remember getting my phone out of my pocket. So really starting to have that intentionality around it, because it can be a great way to connect and to learn and to share. But it's a sort of a slippery slope into really affecting our mood and our happiness. And so that's a really big one, I think, that we all can do something about, and just sort of really be more mindful about our use of that. Yeah, thank you. That was a wonderful question.
Yes, thank you very much, Areli. I see there is another student here. Aldair Paramo, would you like to make a question to Dr. Jillian?
Hello, good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation. My question is, how can teachers inspire students to see happiness as an essential part of their education, and not only as a personal goal? Thank you very much.
Excellent question. I love this one. This is great. So what's really interesting about happiness is that, and I get a similar question from parents, like, how do I help my children be happy? And so one of the things that I say to parents often is children don't listen to what you say, they watch what you do. And so I think especially for teachers, it's really modeling a lot of the behaviors that we talk about. And so setting that example for people. So, really paying attention to like themselves, are they moving their bodies? Are they, being grateful for things? Are they thanking people? Are they being kind? Those sort of things. It's a great way, especially as a teacher and a leader, to show and model those behaviors. And then I think even taking that one step further, it's about sort of having those conversations about why our happiness matters. Like I showed some slides earlier about how when people are happier, they tend to be physically healthier. But what we also see is when we compare happy people to less happy people perform better at work and in school. So they're more productive, they're better problem solvers, they're more collaborative, they're more innovative. And even in their personal lives, they have longer and more fulfilling friendships and marriages. They're more altruistic, so they're more likely to volunteer time and or money. And so really reminding, because I think, and I get this a lot, because sometimes people think that happiness is like this fluffy topic. And yeah, like we've shared and talked about today, there is so many benefits for so many facets of our life. And so as teachers, really encouraging students to make sure that they're making their happiness a priority and that they are doing things, checking in, like what is a micro moment you've done today, or sharing one and things like that, because it isn't this frivolous privilege to be happy. It really is something that is important for our performance, for our life, and especially when you're in school, it's one of those things that can really help to get more enjoyment out of this really special time that you have to learn and to learn knowledge and to, explore your curiosity and ask questions. And so I think that that's something that, one, teachers can model, and two, they can encourage and support for students as well.
Thank you, Dr. Gilman, for all your answer, all your keynote address. I think that you made a huge positive impact with this audience. We are here administrators, we are students, we are teachers, professors, and I would like to appreciate all your support and your knowledge that you share today with us. We would like to be in the program. We are going to have a panel, the first main panel. But before that, if you don't mind, Dr. Gillian, I'm going to ask Dr. Rosalia that present to you the acknowledgement about your participation. If you want to read this, Dr. Rosalia, I will appreciate that. And after that, or maybe you can do the formal inauguration and then to present the certificate to Dr. Gillian, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. I'm so happy to have you here. And I was wondering when you were saying your comments about happiness, and you set this arrow from 0 to 10, how happy we could feel. I began thinking about two situations, and in that moment I realized that I felt so happy for one situation, but so sad for other. So I had a question that if it is possible to be happy for one thing and to be sad at the same time for other things without being considered bipolar.
This is an incredible question. And so there's actually a lot of research, and I've experienced that too, where something really, really good is happening and also, something bad, or we look at some of the things that are going on in the world that are so awful, then it feels like, how can I also feel happy? And so what we see in research is that when you hold two emotions at the same time, which is possible, it's actually a sign of emotional maturity. So it shows that we can have two things be true at once. It's sort of like a lot of things in life, it's living in paradox. And when we look at like emotion and emotion research, it actually is something that shows that they call it emotional granularity sometimes, where we can tease out different emotions. And when we can hold them both at the same time, it actually is a sign of emotional maturity. Yeah.
Thank you. I will forget the other word that I have mentioned. Well, it's an honor for us to have you here, Dr. Gillian Mandich. Of course, you are welcome here at Polytechnic University of Tlaxcala, Mexico. Tlaxcala is the smallest state in the country, but our governor, Lorena Cuellar Cisneros, says that this is the state with, is the smallest state with people with a very big heart. So whenever you want to come and Dr. Juan de Dios Pineda invites you to come here, you are all welcome here to Tlaxcala. And well, being 10:30 in the morning, today, 11 of September 2025, we begin this chair, Juan de Dios Pineda Guadarrama chair. And I declare this inaugurated, of course, and with this great opening that we are having with this conference. Then I'm going to read what the acknowledgement says. It says the Polytechnic University of Tlaxcala grants this acknowledgement to Dr. Gillian Mandich for her conference, for her great conference in this annual seminar 2025 in the International Chair Juan de Dios Pineda Guadarrama, Innovation, Inclusion, and Intelligence, Navigating in Higher Education in the 21st Century. It's Tepeyanco, Tlaxcala, the place where the university is, September 2025, and it is me, the one who signs, Rosalia Nayeli. Welcome, Dr. Gillian. Thank you very much for being with us, and all of you who are here in this Zoom session, and the ones who are listening to us. Please don't leave, because we will have a day full of knowledge, experiences, and many things to say. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Juan de Dios.